Hey, well, good morning. Waiting on some stuff for the Samurai, so I figured I'd work on the Jeep a little bit and get the party started. So this Jeep, from what I've been told and what I've seen as far as last time it was registered, it hasn't been started in over 10 years. And there's a lot of stuff that seems to have been done to the Jeep that is questionable, so I kind of need to go over it. But the main focus of today would be just to get the engine ready to be started for the first time in quite some time. I have no clue the condition or anything, but what I wanted to accomplish today was just to pull the spark plugs out, squirt some oil in each of the cylinders, change the oil, and then we'll prime it, and we'll see how far it goes. The electrical is just, you know, all kinds of weird stuff going on here where I have no clue what the previous owner did. So I don't think I'm going to try to start it today, but we'll see. You know, let's just get all the oil stuff done first and see if we could do a compression test and go from there. But obviously the gas, yeah, is no good, so there's a lot of things I would have to do before I start it. But I just want to see if the engine turns over smooth and you know what we're looking at. So yeah, we'll get started on that and start pulling the plugs and see what we got. Okay, well, we got the spark plugs out. One thing I noticed right away, if you can see this, let's see if I could put it against the Samurai here. They're, you know, super sooted. They're all about the same, which I guess is nice that they're consistent, but I don't think the carburetor is a stock carburetor, and I'm guessing it was put on and never tuned. So it looks like it was running really rich, but yeah, it is what it is now. I don't know how long it's been on there. So what I am going to do is squirt some oil into the cylinders. And I just have a small syringe here that holds 2 tablespoons, it says. So this is just motor oil. So I'm just going to take this oil and just squirt 2 tablespoons into each cylinder, and you know, hopefully that will let it sit on the rings and lubricate it. Hopefully there's no rust in it. But this Jeep was sitting outside its whole life, as far as I know. So we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll change the oil and prime it, and then we'll see if it turns over smoothly, and just keep plugging away. Okay, we're underneath the Jeep now. We'll drain the oil and see what it looks like. But yeah, for now I put the spark plugs back in just to get any, you know, if there's any moisture. I don't want it to go inside the cylinders because it is supposed to rain here shortly. I think Friday or something like that. So we'll go ahead and drop the oil, and it's a 3/4 inch drain bolt, if anybody's wondering. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, and hopefully it looks relatively clean. Yeah, it's extremely black, but I'm not too surprised. The Jeep doesn't seem like it was very well maintained, so. But at least there was oil in it, and it looks like, you know, it's not mixed with gas or antifreeze, so there is some positives to get out of this. So we'll go ahead and let that drain for a while, and we'll come back to it here in a few minutes. All right, we're back up front. While the oil is draining, I'm going to pull off the distributor so I could go ahead and see what I need to do to make a tool to prime the oil pump. Yeah, and all there is just 1/2 inch bolt towards the bottom here. I'll have to take out, and then you just kind of pull it out, and that'll give you access to the oil pump. Yeah, and there's the bracket that holds it on. Okay. So if you look at the end of the distributor, looks like all I need is a flat blade to turn the oil pump. Okay, to make sure the oil pump's priming, we're going to take off the valve cover. For this particular one, there are 3/16 Allen keys all the way around. It does say Clifford on the top. I don't think that's a factory valve cover, so, but yours might be similar. So we'll go ahead and take those off. It looks like there's 3 in each side, and 1 on the front and 1 on the back. So that should be pretty easy. We'll pop it off and see. Well, you know, basically we're going to expose the rockers so we can see the oil push up through the push rod into the rockers. And once all 6, well, actually there'll be 12 rockers. So once the oil pushes through all of them, then we know we're in good shape. So hopefully that's the outcome. So I'll go ahead and pop that off, and at that point we'll fill it up with oil and go from there. Okay, we got the valve cover off. It did fight me for a little bit. You know, one side of the gasket was stuck to the block, and then the other side of the valve cover, the gasket was stuck to the valve cover. So, but we got it off. Just took a little persuasion, but it doesn't look great in here, I'll tell you that. So when you're looking on the top of the rockers here, let me see if I can get you a little closer. There's definitely rust on top of the rockers where the oil was sitting. So I'm guessing if you look at this back one here, it's really bad. So and there's some rust on the head too. So yeah, it looks pretty bad, but we're still gonna proceed and see how it plays out. Okay, so we got the engine filled back up with oil, and I changed the oil filter too. Not that that's really relevant to this, but we got the valve cover off. And what we're looking for, if you look at the top of the push rods, there's a little hole. And once I start priming, they should come out of all the rockers and fill up the rocker itself, kind of like how this one is. When I was pouring oil, I filled some of it up. So so what we have is just an old screwdriver that the handle's off. It's a long screwdriver with a flat blade, and that goes right where the distributor went into, and all the way down. And I'll spin it. It isn't a it's not a big drill, so I do have a 1/2 inch one that has more power if it's, yeah, if it seems like we need it. So, but I'll give it a shot with a small battery powered one and see how that plays out. All right, the battery powered one died, which I thought might have been a possibility. So we got an electric powered drill that should do the trick here. Okay, well that took some time. I don't know exactly how many minutes, but it's probably approaching 10 minutes. It looks like all of them are willing to pump except for this guy here. So I'm just gonna run with it and hope that, you know, eventually once the engine starts that maybe it'll start pumping. But everything else is pumping oil, so that's all good. Yeah, it's been quite a few hours since I had oil in the cylinders, so we'll go ahead and just see if the engine wants to turn over. So we'll give that a shot. Okay, so we're underneath the Jeep. Here's the front of the engine, the big crank pulley, and the bolt here is a 13/16. Okay, so that goes right on the crank, and we'll turn it clockwise. Okay, seems to be turning over. So we'll keep on moving forward. So that's a good sign that it's not froze up. And yeah, we'll keep moving forward. I'll put the distributor back on and get it timed so we could start looking into starting it. Okay, we're gonna throw our distributor back in, but we have to get the engine in top dead center. There's a few tricks of how people do this, but typically I will just leave the #1 cylinder spark plug in and take the rest of them out, because on your crank, let's see if I get you a good view of the crank. Okay, so you'll see that there's a line on the crank. I don't know if you can see that or not. Well, anyways, it's right there. And that aluminum piece has numbers showing you the degree of, you know, where the crank is, and we have to set it to 0. But you could either be on the compression stroke or not on the compression stroke. So when I'm turning it, you know, I'm only going to feel one compression stroke because I only have one spark plug in. And if I know I'm starting to feel resistance as I'm approaching the mark on the crankshaft to the 0 mark, then I know I'm on the right stroke, and I'll stop at 0. So that's how I find top dead center easily. Okay, so we're back. Just wanted to show you something on the distributor. I'm not a Jeep guy, I'll tell you that much, but this looks like a GM HEI distributor, which I think might be fairly common swap. So but whenever you're turning your distributor, you'll feel it stop, and that kind of helps you line up to where it's got to go. And the cap has a notch on it. Where is it here? There's a notch here that lines up with the distributor. Okay, so there's only one way the cap would go on, and I labeled my wires when I took them off, so I know that this is #1, and based on the orientation I know it's going to land right here with the cover on. So I made a black mark here so I know how close I am. So yeah, we want to fit this on. If it's not going all the way, it's probably because your engagement to the oil pump isn't right. So you got to take a screwdriver and adjust your oil pump. But we'll go ahead and slide this in, and that'll get us close enough so the engine will start. Then we'll take a timing gun and adjust it to whatever the factory asked for. Okay, well then we'll throw our little bracket back on that holds the distributor. And when you're installing this little bracket here, you know, you want to snug the nut up, but you don't want it so tight where you can't move it. Because once you start the engine, you're going to want to adjust the timing. All right, guys. Well, that'll be it for now. I need to address the fuel situation first and take a hard look at the electrical part to see if it's wired right or what, you know, what I'm going to do there. There's a lot of wires just dead-ended with nothing protecting them, so I'm not a huge fan of that. But so I'm going to figure that out. But the engine's, you know, I feel is safe enough to start once we're ready. So yeah, the next episode we'll start it up. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.